He was there like within 2 hours to 24 hours. So that's a huge testimonial for Cory. Cory has 2 daughters. One of them is here today. And I would like you to please welcome Cory Law.
Thank you, Christina. Let's see if this will work. Yeah, there's going to be some pictures. Dichotomy. I'm a word geek. I like words. Dichotomy is a neat word. Kind of means opposites, like yin and yang. I'm cursed. Both sides of my brain work. But I'm blessed because both sides of my brain work. Artist and scientist. I've been a musician, played Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky. I like math. I was also an adrenaline junkie. At 5, I started playing the piano. I did everything fast, though, other than that, for a while. I ran fast, I rode my bike fast, and at 7, my dad bought me a go-kart. They went 40 miles an hour at 7. I developed my need for speed righteously. But I did slower things as well. You kind of see we're dressed alike. We modeled together, father and son team. I cooked in the kitchen with my mother because, as a lot of us did, we grew up in the kitchen. Who remembers what happened in 1961? The Russians put the, something at least, the Russians put the first man in space. The country went nuts. And in response, they decided to create a generation of super kids. We were a year ahead in math, science, and a foreign language, and yeah, I was one of those kids. Segregated off into a class of 25. I use the word segregated intentionally because it was a somewhat segregated life I lived. I had my feet in 2 worlds. Lived on a segregated block. If you're in real estate, you know the term redlining. But I went to school with 24 rich white kids. It was interesting. But I got along both places. On the block, it was one of those real neighborhoods that don't exist that much anymore. Everybody was everybody's kid or parent. If you got caught doing something, somebody's likely to smack you in the back of the head. And you got smacked in the back of the head when you got home, too, or worse. By the time this picture was taken, I was probably 11, maybe 12. I was the only kid on the in the block. And I didn't like that. My mother wanted 5 children. She had 5 pregnancies. I'm the only one that lived. 2 stillborns, 2 miscarriages. She kind of liked me. We adopted myself a sister, but by the time that had happened, I'd been sexually abused. First by a girl, an older girl. I was 8. She was 13. I remember that happened repeatedly. And the day that we got caught, I'm the one that got beat. Later, it was a boy. It was probably about 13, 14. That's something I had to tell my daughter last night before she heard it here. I hadn't talked about that much. But we adopted myself a sister, and we're very close. As a matter of fact, most of you who know me may know that she ran a triathlon 2 weeks ago. Did the Ironman in Lake Placid. I have goosebumps the size of warships right now because she just amazes me. Graduated from high school, well, you know what? That didn't work. There we go. As a super kid, a lot of things come your way. Anybody heard of the Phillips Exeter Academy? I went there for a year. Despite being rather intelligent, I hadn't learned how to study, and I put the time in. It just wasn't effective time. And the whole yin and yang thing, again, I passed 2 classes that year, English and physics. Both sides of the brain. So that's a picture from outside of my dorm my sophomore year at Exeter. Before I was kicked out for grades, they allowed me to withdraw. I went to summer school and maintained my grade and graduated on time. Got through high school, went off to college. Lafayette, like Christina said. Christina, there's the yellow. I've always been somewhat of a clothes horse. I like to dress. Cindy, you're laughing. I posted that picture on Facebook a while back, and I got so many hits about, oh my God, the yellow pants. I went to school to be a mechanical engineer. I had a lot of technical hobbies before I got to college. I did things like electronics, I did woodworking and metals and plastics and all kinds of things. And I also like to take things apart and put them back together. I thought I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. My version of mechanical engineering and the college's version were rather kind of like yin and yang. After the first year, I should have been summarily dismissed from school. I got called into the dean's office, and the guy said to me, Cory, we have a problem. I know. You shouldn't be coming back next year, but we can't kick out the class president. You see, I got myself elected class president. That works. It gives you a certain amount of a pass. It was the yellow pants. Well, that was senior year. But anyway, I got myself elected class president. He said, what we're going to do is this. Go to summer school again. Get a 2.5 and you stay. Otherwise, you're gone. I said, thank you, Dean, I can do that. And I got a 2.5, but the more important thing was I learned how to study. I also changed majors to economics. And I liked that. It was mostly math and stuff I could get along with. And I graduated well. But before I graduated, my dad said to me, you know what, you need to stop this lifeguarding thing. Get a real job in business before you graduate. So between my junior and senior year of college, I went to work for IBM. They put me in a 10-week sales training program. I finished it in 7. They said, we got us a hot one. And they gave me a job offer to come back after I graduated. So I went back for my senior year of college with an offer from IBM, and all I had to do was get out clean. I did that. But I got there. It was good for a while, but then I got IBM'd. I said, this is not the place for me long term. But I was fortunate enough to come up with the idea that if I did 3 years with IBM as the first job out of college, my resume would look pretty good and people would hire me. It turned out to be true. I got 2 offers to come down to Washington. But at the same time, I started racing cars. This adrenaline thing I talked about before. To me, it's Summit Point. I raced for 10, 12 years and actually became a racing instructor at Summit Point. I love that. Life as art. There's art to driving a car. Anybody who's been in a car with me kind of knows that. I drive kind of like not many people. Not just fast, smooth, extremely smooth. The way your Keith tells the limo drivers to drive. Smooth. Don't think so. Last year, for Father's Day, I bought myself a present. a bunch of laps at Summit Point in a Ferrari. Happy Father's Day to me. I hadn't raced in several years, and that day got me the bug back. I don't have time or the money. So I decided I just can't do that. But it was a great day, and I loved it to death. Adrenaline. I also skied a lot. And I skied double black diamonds. You know, the cliffs with moguls. And who remembers the Blues Brothers movie? We're on a mission from God. 1976, Franz Hammer in the Olympics in Innsbruck. The downhill run was at this mountain, the Hahnenkamm. His hometown, Kitzbühel. He came down, set a world record, won his fourth consecutive downhill title. I had to ski that mountain. Took me 8 years. When 84, went to Austria and Germany for 2 weeks, spent a week in Kitzbühel, and day 4 or 5 of the five or 6 days there, skied the toughest downhill run on the World Cup circuit. Now, as crazy as I was about skiing, I couldn't imagine going down without stopping. Went hell-bent, halfway, stopped, took 17 deep breaths, and continued the rest of the way down hard too. But that's the kind of thing I just love to do. I got juice from that. It's no surprise then that with this adrenaline thing, the way I like to do things fast, I ended up working for a company in '99 called VA Linux. If you're a financial type, you probably know that VA Linux still holds the record for the highest run-up IPO in history. 65 that day. Our price was 50 cents. Yeah. Woke up one day worth several $1 million. Lasted for 3 weeks. Not literally, but it sounds good when I say that. What it did, though, it produced money on paper. Monopoly money. Unfortunately, when you end up with monopoly money on paper, the IRS wants real money. So 2 years later, I went through a bankruptcy. I had gone to a tax attorney who said, hey, you've made good money, the IRS is going to get their money from you. But all this other stuff over here, bankruptcy. Like, what? That was a hard pill to swallow. But Donald Trump declared bankruptcy several times. Friends of mine had done it, never thought particularly bad of them. But there's a difference between a defensive bankruptcy and an offensive bankruptcy. You get to keep the house, bought a new car. Just had to finance the whole thing so it wasn't an asset. But the attorney told me to do that. At that point, I made a decision. I needed to take control. And life can begin at 50, and my life started over at 50. 10 years ago, in 2004, I became self-employed. I started Details Home Services as a handyman business, and then quickly morphed into remodeling, bathrooms, basements, kitchens, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not going to do an infomercial because that's not appropriate, but a lot of people don't really know what I do. Even in my own B&I group, I get questions about, do you do this, do you do that? I'm like, I'm here every week. Are you just not paying attention? So I've got a few before and after shots I just want to share with you real quickly. This is a guest bathroom. This is a standard hall bathroom. They're 5 foot long. There's a tub in the back, a toilet, and a vanity. Blase. If you take a note, the picture on the wall and the towels will be the same in the next shot. And this is what we turned it into. Same picture, same towels. And if the other picture had been more wide angle, that giraffe looking thing on the back of the toilet was the same too. This is somebody's idea of a master bath. The builder should be smacked with a shovel. Little vanity outside, a 16-inch vanity inside with a little sink, nasty shower. And without enlarging the space 1 inch, just took the wall out between, rearranged the door. That's what it turned into. This is in the same house. And these people had a split-level house with an 8x10 kitchen buried in the middle, no windows, light, a pit of a place. So we started by taking all the walls out in the entire level of the split and took that 8x10 kitchen and turned it into a 20-foot wall of cabinets with a 10-foot island. And yes, that's my picture from the Sterling Women calendar 2 years ago. Because not only am I the first sponsor, I was the first man in the calendar. And I got to keep my clothes on. This is a seven-figure house in Great Falls. And this was the builder's idea of an elegant master bathroom. Now, it's probably 15, well, probably now about 20 years ago. I did this bathroom about 5 years ago. But seriously? So we spent about 3 weeks of pretty hard labor. It became this. They were kind of happy. They've written some nice testimonials for me. In the last picture, I don't have a before picture because this was a basement, and basements before pictures are just block and concrete and stuff. So this is small, but it's really cozy. And I love it to death because it's got a lot of elements to it. It's got an angled wall with French doors. It's got an office behind there. It's got a home theater, a nice bar. And just one little thing, if you look at, there's a post above the bar. There was where one of the posts was that held the house up. And we cut it apart, drilled through the bar, moved the bar into place, welded it back together, then wrapped it in cherry and finished it like the bar. That was cool. The thing I'm most proud of, though, are my girls. One of whom's here today. Stand up, Jill. This is Angelica. Angelica's my boy. I love calling her that because she wanted to do everything Dad did. The other one's Ariel. Now, Angelica lives in Richmond, and she's a caterer and a wedding planner. Ariel is in New York, and she's a fashionista. Always wanted to be a fashionista from the time she was about 6. And she went to FIT, and now is a buyer for Bloomingdale's, and she's got a hell of a resume. It includes DVF, all kinds. She worked for everybody. It's great, but she's been working for Bloomingdale's for quite some time now. The girls have grown. They look like this now. Love them to death. But why am I here? Specifically, why am I here at Sterling Women? Well, I'm here because I appreciate women. Most of my best friends growing up have always been women. Yes, men and women can be best friends. And it all started with my mother. My mother, my sister, my daughters. My daughters especially, they gave me, we taught each other. I didn't have to teach them how to live. I was fortunate enough to come up with how to show them how to live. Not do as I say, do as I do. They taught me patience and the value of a relationship. I didn't get along with my dad. We didn't have any kind of a relationship because we were at odds, and he couldn't get past the whole father-son role thing. And even to the day he died, he couldn't reconcile how he could be in a relationship with me just man to man. He was a great provider, but wasn't much of a dad. And I decided before I even had children that if I had children, and it was an if, that I was going to have a relationship with them because it was important that we have a relationship that's not based on a role, but it's based on mutual respect. And I'm not telling you how to run your own life or how to deal with your children if you have them. But I decided that in order to do what I wanted to do for my children, you can be friend and parent. However, if you have to make a choice, not if, when you have to make a choice, you have to be parent. Because if you haven't had your children just be completely done with you at some point, or 3 or 5, you haven't probably done your job as a parent. So I know Angelica was completely done with me her sophomore year in college because I made her pay her own room and board. And she was pretty upset. But that's my boy. And she manned up. And a year later, she said to me, Dad, that was the best thing you've ever done for me. Because I'm smart, and my friends are all stupid. And they sit around and drink and lay around and watch TV and spend their parents' money. And my roommate just totaled her car in the DWI, and fortunately she didn't get charged. But her parents went out the next 3 days and got her a brand new car, and a bigger one. What's up with that? The girlfriend's ready. I have a few people that I want to express some gratitude to because I've had help to get where I'm at. Tina Johnson. I was looking for a business coach. I asked him to give me the name of someone as a referral that would tell me what he did for them, and he gave me Tina. We knew each other, but not very well, but she spent 45 minutes on the phone pouring her heart out about challenges and life struggles and business. I was stunned. Pat Worth. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Debbie Jo referred me to Pat Worth because Pat needed 6 bathrooms done, and there's Debbie too. In 6 weeks. Oh, and you better be done by November 16th because the company's coming on the 17th. Can you do that? I'm sure you can imagine her saying that. Yes, and did we do that, Pat? She still likes me, I think. Amy Zidell. Where's Amy? Oh, my posse. When I started the company with the idea of marketing to women, but came up with the idea that I wanted to network with women. And Amy and I had been friends in the Dulles Chamber, and she started her company about 2 years after mine, I believe. We shared ideas and struggles and issues and things like that, and all of a sudden I threw this idea at her about networking with women. And she said, you know what, there's a group called Success in the City. And I have to be careful when I say Success in the City because I don't want to say Sex in the City. And she introduced me to Cynthia DeLorenzi, who invited me to events, but when I looked at the event agendas, it looked like there was more social time for women as opposed to business networking. I didn't think it was appropriate for a man to interject himself into that kind of environment. But I went to the Christmas party, and I met Pat Messini. We were in line behind each other, or with each other at the buffet. Told her a little bit about what I did, and she said the magic words. You need to be at Sterling Women. I'll never forgot that. The next month I did. Walked right through those doors and like, oh my God! There's $1 million in this room. But you know what? It's not about the money. It's about relationships and doing the right thing. I'm a salesman. I've been a salesman all my life. I used to be Al Bundy. I sold shoes. Who remembers Tom McCann? Loved it. If you do the right thing, treat your clients with respect, take their problems, solve them, money jumps into your wallet. This is not a mercenary game. It's a do-good game. And good guys do win. So, there's others. Some of them aren't here. Marissa Levin, Mina Fees. One is here. Carolyn Severo. But raise your hand if you feel welcome here every month, like Christina. If you feel supported by Christina. And if you're grateful to Christina. I know I am. 2 hands up for that. One more before and after. And Christina, you stole my thunder. That's the garage before, and that's the garage after. And I want to thank Robin Buweri for being a good sport, as she had to endure the story being told over and over and over. So thank you all. I really appreciate you listening.
Please take the questions.
Questions?
Any questions for Cory? Come on, we got to ask a few questions.
Donna. Question was why I wanted to become a handyman. And that's not quite what happened. I wanted to be self-employed. And it was a question of what I would do to become self-employed. I didn't want to do IT. I'd done that for 29 years. I had enough of that. Liked it very much. Did well, but enough. Being a handyman is easy. Doesn't take a truck or a van or anything like that. I actually worked out of the back of my car for a little bit. But that's not where I saw myself. I saw myself doing home improvements. Years ago, I tried to buy up my whole block in Harrisburg. I wanted to become a developer. And handyman was just an easy way to get started in business, and I quickly morphed out of that. Anybody else? Yes. Interesting question. I think probably the first bathroom I did. The lady had no idea it was my first bathroom. See? Still makes me laugh. Actually, it wasn't my first bathroom because my first big project was I did my own basement. I did the plumbing. I did the tile. I did most of the drywall until I got this really bad crick in my back and realized it was from cutting drywall too hard. So I hired a crew to do the rest of that. So I'd done bathrooms before, just not been paid for it. So that was fun. But then it had this teal color that the girls, it was for 3 girls. And there were 3 white vanities, and I thought it was going to be horrid looking at the end, but it turned out looking really nice. And I have pictures of it still. So. Anybody else? Lana. Is that a loaded question? I love what I do. Just want to get better at it, and we're getting larger and larger jobs. I don't do much handyman work anymore. Don't need to, can't afford to. So. Terry. It might be the kitchen you saw. That was a lot of fun. It was their very, very first project ever. And we ripped the shreds out of their house. And the lady was so excited, she was almost peeing herself every day. It was, they were so fun. And I've made very good friends. There's another kitchen that I did in Ashburn that was rather expensive. And that was a good one, too. So.
I think Grace has a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Grace. Pardon the French, but I used to say my dad and I were 2 alike. We were both proud, egotistical, self-indulgent bastards. Word geek. He was a good provider. He was very, very smart. But he grew up in a very, very bad time. He went to the military. It was segregated. He grew up segregated. He had little opportunity because he was a black man in America. And the first thing that people saw was his color. It drove him literally crazy. He created me in the image he wished he could have lived. My parents were exceptional. They created an environment to expose me to everything. And my secret, if I have one secret, is that I've been exposed to everything. I traveled the world, went to Europe for 2 weeks in high school, and a whole lot of other things I don't have time to go into. But it was important to them that I be different. I used to tell my girls when they were little, you have to be better to be perceived as equal. And it hurt me to say that, but it was true. And you know what I'm talking about. He never once, that I recall, or my sister, said, I love you, or I'm proud of you. I knew he was. He told all his friends. The outward view was wonderful. The inward, not so much. I don't know how it happened, but I took a lot from him. He had a lot of very good qualities that I emulate, and he had a lot of bad qualities that I rejected. And it just happened to come into the right kind of a thing that when my girls came, I was ready.
Okay, one last question, and then we're going to do door prizes.
When I started the business, the whole bankrupt thing is kind of a little bit of a misnomer. It was a bankruptcy. It does not mean you don't have assets and you didn't do things. And when I started the business, I had a significant amount of cash. I had 3 years' worth of cash. The bankruptcy was perfectly timed. And like I said, it was an offensive thing. So I had 3 years' worth of cash when I started my business. I was fine. I did not need cash. So I just grew the business organically.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wait, we have a gift for you, Cory. We need to know if you want a facial or a massage.
I was waiting for that. I
I heard guys get facials.
I love facials.
Okay.
I want a facial.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
So if you have not given us your business card, Sharon is going to run around the room. We did not know we were both wearing yellow today, by the way. You're going to think that in the field of IT most of his career. But he's going to tell you his story. A while back, he opened his own business.